Stories of the human spirit, candid conversations about action, passion, and love. The Law of Action is about living in balance, moving forward with momentum in inspired action. Overcome challenges, create success, amplify your life, and achieve things you never thought possible. It's all waiting for you. If you're ready to break through your fears and live your life in massive action, this is the show for you. He's a best-selling author, speaker, advisor, your host, Mr. Action himself, Rob Actis.
Welcome to the show, Action Takers. Glad to have you here. Living the Law of Action is based on my book, The Law of Action, and I love to connect with the movers and shakers of the world who are passionate about the good they do for others and who listen to their hearts, taking inspired action every single day. Now, if this is your first time joining us, or you've been with us for a while, I want to personally thank you for listening in and being here. Please rate and review the Living the Law of Action show on your favorite podcast platform. Now, on this show, my guests are incredible people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of inspired action. My guest today, well, he does just that. Today, Mustafa Ammar and I discuss building your future business based on your passions. So if you want to understand how to bounce from career to career and follow your passion, you want to learn how to be persistent in building your future and stay consistent so you can make your business based on your passions, well, this is the show for you. Mustafa is a polymath, and we're going to discuss that. I didn't know what that was, and I figured it out. So he's able to pursue and find his passions, and that's the power of the polymath. We're going to talk about that. He started his career as a pharmacist, then an international diplomat, then investment banker, then currently an entrepreneur, a life coach, and author of the upcoming book, The Passion Project, which we will be talking about because it's really cool. Mustafa, welcome to the Living the Law of Action show.
Hi, Rob. It's nice to meet you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to
Absolutely. Oh, well, we've already met before, but glad to have you here on this show. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Rob.
Man, you've done a lot of stuff. So let's see. Pharmacist, international diplomat, investment banker, now entrepreneur, life coach. How did you transition from pharmacist to diplomat? That's fascinating to me.
That's an amazing story. I still remember and recall until now because it's helping me to focus on what's coming next, I did it once. I followed my passions and my dreams, and I still can do it, of course.
All right, well, let's jump back even before that. Let's go back. What were you before a pharmacist? Where were you based out of? Where were you living, and how did you become a pharmacist? Like, what were the steps to get to that?
So by nationality, I'm Egyptian. I'm an Egyptian national. I lived in Cairo for not for long, but I used to travel with my dad, everywhere almost. In Middle East, Europe, in Africa, and my dream when I was 10, or even before that, was to do many things. So I still recall when people used to ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I just say, I want to be an astronaut, and I want to be an engineer, and I want to be a footballer, soccer player. I want to be 5 or 6 things. And I still remember the same response every time. Oh, no, sorry, you cannot be all of this, you have to pick one.
You got to pick one. Exactly.
I kept that in my mind. I kept that, and I was always dreaming to be an astronaut, really. And I wanted to be a soccer player. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be other things.
Right.
But I realized after some time, when I grew up a little bit, is that, I really have to stick to one thing. Okay. That one thing was to be a diplomat. I saw a guy, God bless his soul, may he rest in peace. He passed away 5-6 years ago. And that guy was a legend. I was 10 years old, 11 years, looking at him as, wow.
That's pretty, okay, I don't know a lot of 10 or 11-year-olds that like, I want to be an international diplomat. That's pretty wild.
Seeing that guy, and he had every single, I would say, trait of being a diplomat. He was an ambassador. Right. He was a good-looking guy.
Right.
Much better than me. He was quite tall.
Okay.
And he was so kind. And he was down to earth. He was talking to every single person, even, me as a 10 years old boy.
That's pretty cool.
Like looking at him, wow, this is great, Yeah. And he could talk in anything. The impression that I got, I don't know why I got that impression. I got that impression of seeing somebody who is, I would call it encyclopedic person,
Okay.
He's just he was
kind of a polymath. See, I did my homework.
Exactly.
He's a polymath. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and explain what a polymath is? I'm curious as your take. So see if I'm correct. So a polymath is someone who has the ability to have incredibly different pursuits and knowledge of a wide variety of information.
Exactly.
Is that it? Close?
It's exactly. And it's a Greek term. And the poly, the syllable of Greek, it means many, right?
Right.
And math is depending on, building or bringing different aspects together. So a polymath is very, very briefly and very simply is somebody who spent several years in different careers. I would say somebody who spent 4 or 5 years in different careers. 3 or more, you're a polymath. Congratulations.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So I love it. So, so you met the guy, you wanted to be an international diplomat at 10 years old. And then where did things take you? Because you didn't jump right in to be an international diplomat.
Exactly. I started preparing myself when I was 13, 14 and said, now I have to start preparing myself. So I just started, it's a competition. So almost every 2 years, there is a big competition in the whole country. You have sometimes 2,000 contestants. You're going to take 20 or 30 out of them. Okay. So I had to prepare very early in advance, even several years before. So, reading in history, reading about geography, gathering information, general information, capitals of the world. At that time, when I was 14, I could recall and remember every single, capital in the whole world.
Okay. That's pretty impressive. I don't think I could even do 10 in the United States. That's pretty bad. Of course, I'm not an international diplomat. I'm a podcast host, so that's a good thing.
I tried my best. I was looking at what I could do at that age. I had a lot of passion. Again, the same idea of building everything on passion. And when you have passion, you learn very fast, and very, very quick.
I agree.
But then I had a turn in my career. When I was 16, I found out that I loved chemistry so much. And at that age, I was never be able to excel in something like chemistry. So I decided something crazy. I went to my dad, and I told him, I love chemistry and I want to study all kinds of chemistry. Okay. And I did my homework and research, and I found that's only in pharmacy. I have to be a pharmacist in order to study all kinds of chemistry. So
or a drug dealer or a drug manufacturer. Yeah, exactly. So you want the legal route,
Exactly. So all kinds of chemistry, all the way from inorganic to organic to analytical, all the way to pharmaceutical chemistry, which is only there. And, I still recall, he said, you want to be a diplomat, right? I said, yes, I want to study all kinds of chemistry. And I'm not interested in studying, political theories and, global affairs, all those. I think you can get, all those information by practice. But chemistry, I have to study. Anyway, I decided. I went to university. I studied for 5 years. I forgot about my big dream to be a diplomat. And then after 4.5 years, I started getting back that dream in my last semester. I started thinking back and wow, now I think it's the time. You're about to graduate. So do you want to do this forever? Do you want to do, be a pharmacist forever? Or do you want to go back to your old dream?
Wow.
And I just started, thinking and reflecting. I spent the whole semester, rather than just studying and preparing myself for exams, I was just, thinking of what I really want to do, what really matters for me in life. And it took me a while to decide. And we can always reflect on that, but it's something I learned in my life. I shouldn't take those big decisions about my life unless I'm in a high spiritual status. So I took my time to reflect. I took time And I waited for the right moment. For me, the right moment, because I'm of Muslim faith. So it's Ramadan, where you pray more, where you fast. And,
Gotcha.
So it's like the highest level the whole year. You are just recharging your battery for the whole year. And I decided. And I started preparing myself 3.5 years while working as a pharmacist. I was studying global affairs, international law, economics, 3 languages. I had to be fluent in 3 languages. And talking about the fears, I had a lot of fears. Back to my childhood, I was kind of a very introvert and shy child. I didn't have much confidence, you know.
Did you overcome your fear and of lack of confidence by going into the intellectual pursuit of really just diving into to things like being an international, you know, diplomat and being a pharmacist? Is that the way you did it? So like, yes, I'm shy, and yes, I'm introverted, and the way that I can overcome that is to dive deep and use my brain and be very intentional on that. Is that one way that you overcame your fear?
You know, I love the stories of underdogs. You know, one of my favorite stories is Rocky. Okay, and I grew up on that story, on that movie. Right? I still recall when I was 6-7 years old, I was watching, you know, like his movies, especially the second one. He was running in the streets of Philadelphia, and kids were running after him. I was imagining myself running after him, you know. And
that's so cool. Oh no! So you wanted to be a boxer too? Okay, got
it. So that was implanted in my brain at that age. That, you know, I thought the only way to do anything you want is to do your best, is to keep pushing.
Right.
You know, even if you have your fears, even if you have your problems, your challenges, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I believed in his story. That became the reflection of my story. You know, all the time I say, I have to do like him, you know. To be a pharmacist, even that wasn't easy, you know.
You know, people think it's just counting pills. You actually are making sure that people don't die. Like that's a big, no, seriously, you have to make sure with the interactions and making sure it's the right dosage. And there's a lot more than just counting pills.
I do agree 100%. And I spent 3.5 years working as a pharmacist while preparing myself to be a diplomat. I didn't have much passion for that, except my passion for chemistry. But I say it, you know, every day I'm going helping people, you know, to cure themselves, to find, you know, good things and build relationship in that aspect and build trust with them as well. Until I managed to get to my dream career, which is to be a diplomat.
Something bigger, much bigger. Yeah, absolutely.
I still recall every single day with my own fears and people around me. Almost 99.9% of people around me were just saying, you cannot do it. You are a pharmacist. And it never happened in the history. A pharmacist can become a diplomat. And they could say it in many ways. Some people would look at me, you know, in a very doubting way. And I was like, I could see that. I could read that in their eyes. And it was tough for me because, you know, I need somebody to encourage me. I didn't have many around me, maybe except my parents, you know, the closest family members. And one of my best friends, he passed away 7-8 years ago. He was the only one who was really encouraging me. But the rest, they were discouraging in many ways.
You know what's interesting about that? A lot of people will doubt their own belief in what they can do. And so they like, well, you know, I'm better than him. And so I don't really want to encourage him to do it because if he does it, why am I not doing it?
Exactly. 100%.
You can tell a lot of people about their insecurities by how supportive or not supportive they are of people in their life.
Exactly. I've seen that all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, you know, I was talking the other day and it's the crab philosophy, the crabs in a bucket, you know, they're like, I don't think I can climb out. So I know you're climbing up out of this bucket, but I don't think I could do it. So you're not going to do it.
Exactly. And the toughest way possible ever could happen to me that somebody comes to me and they say, like my boss when I was a pharmacist, you know, you're stupid. You're wasting your time. Look at your colleagues. Look at your peers. Look at where they are right now and what you are doing. You are wasting your money on, getting courses, on learning other stuff.
You were probably a good pharmacist, weren't you? You were a good pharmacist, weren't you?
I was, because I loved it. And I always love to do my best. So he just didn't want to lose you. I mean, I think it sounds very selfish, like, you're dumb. Okay, well, if I'm so dumb, why do I work for you? And why am I in charge of people's medicine, which is life or death situation? Yeah. And it didn't make sense for him at that time. Even my colleagues, it didn't make sense. And they said, come on, it's something that's happening once every 2 years. It's
a really fun jump. It's a fun jump. Okay, so I'm curious, what exactly is an international diplomat do? Like, what do you do?
A diplomat diplomacy in general is one of the most diverse careers ever. You could do too many things. What I like to say, in my career, in my diplomacy career, I had many lives. It's a one big life, but I have many lives inside. So in general, let's say, you are taking care of bilateral relations between your country, and the other country.
Okay.
That bilateral is too many. That bilateral, from politics to economics to trade to cultural, which is more fun, to sport. And I was lucky to work in the United Nations in New York. So that's another level, because it's the multilateral level.
That's the major leagues, baby. Yeah, that's the major leagues. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The multilateral aspect is a different, scope. You are dealing, you are in a General Assembly, you're looking at everybody at the same time. So you're building this big horizon. You're learning how to negotiate in a multi-dimensional, way, lobbying. And so that was an amazing experience. I work in Africa as well. I work in Malawi. That was my first exposure as a diplomat. So, sometimes, it's good to go to a small country, because you have a small team and it's only ambassador and me. So I had a big exposure, as a young fresh diplomat. So I was almost doing everything.
And what country were you a diplomat for?
I was a diplomat in Africa, in Malawi. I was in China, and I was in United Nations. Yeah.
Okay. So you represented those countries, or what country did you actually represent?
Egypt.
Got it. Egypt. Okay, that's what I wanted.
Exactly.
So in communicating, when you were with Egypt, you're in Africa and you're at an embassy in Africa and you're working on the relations in Africa with Egypt.
Exactly. And then in China, you do the same. And in United Nations, you do the same. Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So it's one of the most diverse experiences ever, because each country has its own, expertise, its own focus. You need to focus, for example, in countries like the US or UK or China on bilateral much. There are a lot to do there.
Right.
You have bigger teams even there.
That's a big responsibility. I mean, that's a big responsibility.
It is actually. It's a big responsibility from all ways. When I was 25 years old, I was the chargé d'affaires, or let's say the second man, the DCM in the embassy, and I was handling, bills of millions, worth of millions of US dollars.
That's amazing.
And that's tough. That's not easy, because I'm still learning. But because you're a second man in that small embassy, you have to do all those stuff, right? So
it's like Mustafa knows what he's doing. Look, he's a pharmacist. I just love it. That's amazing. I just find that fascinating to go from a pharmacist to an international diplomat. That's pretty remarkable. And then working in the UN. Was really tough, but as a pharmacist and jumping into that career, I had to learn very quickly. I have to trust myself. I have to build some confidence, and then the best approach is to accept whatever task that you get on the table. So whatever you get, you have to learn it. There's no way, and that's something helped me for in my future careers. That you cannot say, I cannot do it. You cannot say, I don't know how to do it. You have to figure out how to do it. So how do you do that? How do you overcome your fear? Because everybody has fears of transition and following their passions. How did you overcome that? Because the next thing we're going to talk about is how let's see, pharmacist, international diplomat. And I'm like, I'm bored now as an international diplomat, so I'm going to become an investment banker. Like, really? So how do you overcome your fear? What allows you to do this? Even with the naysayers out there.
Exactly. Fears are always part of us, and,
of course.
We are human beings, and we have to adapt to them, right? And I knew myself, and I knew that I have all my fears and all my, inner doubts. But again, back to my beliefs that only hard work will pay off, for me.
Yeah.
If I work hard, I will get it. And the power of consistency. If you are consistent, if you do every day 20 to 30 minutes, the same thing, you're going to beat whoever, he's just,
right.
Persistence is something else. I had to be persistent. I had to learn from Rocky, for example, how he was, got hit and, fall down and get up again.
Yeah.
So
and momentum. You have to have that momentum in your life. And people miss the part of if you keep doing little baby steps, it creates momentum where bigger things happen.
Exactly.
And it's amazing how it just all lays out before you when you have that momentum. And you have 100%. To just keep moving forward. Even if you move 1/1,000,000th of an inch, you have to keep moving forward in whatever your pursuits are.
Exactly. And what helped me is the preparation part. So I spent time on deciding. And that's what really, made a difference.
Absolutely.
I didn't just say, I want to be a diplomat and, let's start. No.
Right.
I took almost 7-8 months deciding. Right. And deciding means reflecting, thinking, do I want to do this career all the time? Do I want to do this career forever? Do you want to live this life, or do I want to become a diplomat and travel the world, learn other languages, be in contact with other cultures and, do something big.
Yeah.
So I was always connecting things with what really matters for me in my life and what really would make me tick and what make me enjoy my life and, have a passionate life. So when I was ready to decide, and again, when I say that, I'm reaching to the highest spiritual status, means that you are just connected to the universe. The universe is around you, sending you messages, signs. So if you connect to the nature and universe, and that universe started sending you messages that you are on the right path, keep moving. And that's amazing. I received too many signs were telling me that I was on the right path when I was changing, from a pharmacist to a diplomat. And
you can feel it. You can feel it when you're in flow. You can feel it. Like you really can feel it. And when you're not in flow and you're in friction. Like it's very obvious. A lot of people are stuck in careers that are just not the right flow for them. They're not supposed to be doing that. And they have this just feeling of unworthiness, like this is all I'm able to do. And they're so locked in by fear. It's terrible. It's just, life is so precious. And we have such an opportunity here to do anything we really want. I mean, you're an example. Pharmacist, diplomat, now investment banker. And now you're working, you're an author. And so then you went from diplomat to investment banker. How did that transition?
Again, the science make a difference, and because you do everything passionately, and you do it. Right. I never thought of that. I wanted to come back to New York again, to the UN again. And this time I wanted to spend, more years there. Then suddenly something happened to me. And again, I believe in science. When a message comes to you, you shouldn't ignore it. Or let's say callings where they come to you. You shouldn't ignore it. When the first time came to me and they say, that bank actually is very important. It's like the World Bank 70 years ago, but it's just starting. Okay. And I was in China. At that time, I was already in China for 6-7 years as I used to speak Chinese fluently, still speak, of course, fluently Chinese. And the person who told me that bank actually is starting. and it's very similar to the World Bank. And you will be the person who can connect that bank to those other countries, other regions, like in Latin America and the Middle East and Africa. So you should be an asset there. So the first person told me, consider working in a bank. And I say, of course, no way. I'm going to New York, after here, I'm going back to New York.
Right.
But then the repetition of the sign is a sign in itself. So when a week later, somebody else who doesn't know the first person came to me and spoke about the same thing, and I just look at him, really? And he said to me almost the same thing, why you don't look there? I see you there because of your relationship and, your cultural awareness and, your ability to bring, different cultures together. You can bring that bank to those regions and you can do a lot. And I started thinking, and then
like a natural progression,
Exactly. So the key here was to have that open mindset. Okay. Because again, the universe sent to us messages, or let's say once in a lifetime opportunity. Right. Either we read them, we take them, look at them and consider.
Right.
Or not. Or they vanish forever. They vanish forever. So if we take them, they transform our life. And this is what actually happened to me. So I was in mid-level career. I was going back home. I would be a manager in foreign ministry. I had a nomination which was quite big at that time. So I could get a nomination to be in a state level, in the country, so president office. Right. And then after that, I could go to New York. But receiving those messages, which is something I never thought about, and, and investment banking, I don't have a degree in investment. I don't have finance background. I don't have all those things. But then when those messages kept on coming to me, I started considering. And because what I could call sometimes the big opportunity comes after the small opportunity. The universe
gets you ready for the big opportunity. Absolutely.
So while I was at the embassy, I got that small opportunity. While I was doing my normal day job, I was in charge of infrastructure projects, cross countries back home. So I was the one who was handling all these things. I didn't understand nothing about that at that time. And everybody was pushing that file. But for me, I say, wow, that's interesting. I'm going to learn something new. It's challenging, but why not?
Right.
And, the first year was very, very tough. Second year, I was, grasping everything around. And then the third year, I was actually mastering these things. So that was kind of the small opportunity that prepared me to the big opportunity. And then everything, clicked. I went to the bank and another career started.
That's amazing. Well, now from investment banking, now you're entrepreneur. So you have life coach business, and then also you're an author. You have a new book coming out. It's called The Passion Project, Build the Career That You Were Born to Have and Find Your Life Purpose. And, so just give me an overview of the book, of how that is. I mean, we've talked a lot about where you've been, and I think it's amazing how you can really find your passion and your life purpose, and you can reset and you can find another passion and life purpose. Is that really what the book's about?
Exactly. It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm driving on my practical experiences in changing careers based on my passion shift, because sometimes people, they think that they were following their passion at some point, but then that passion changed, or, as human beings, we change. So 10 years ago, me and you, Rob and myself, 10 years ago, we're different persons. We were doing different things.
100%. Absolutely. 100%. Exactly. Absolutely.
I was asked that question in 2010, whether you would consider to be an entrepreneur. I say, no way. I don't have that entrepreneurial mindset. I would never be an entrepreneur. So having that, open mindset and shift your passion, or shift with your passion, as long as your passion shift or change, you shift with, is the key. And the way I'm structuring the book is quite interesting. If we consider our life, careers, or businesses as projects, so it's better to build them on the right foundations. Okay.
Foundation is so important. Yeah.
Some people, I have seen that in my life all the time. Some people are building their lives on the on the wrong foundations. And what they do is they spend most of the time trying to fix the problems coming from those weak foundations.
Right. You have to have a super strong foundation, just like you're building a house in order to build on that business.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't. And what happens is they start their business and then they have all these problems.
Exactly. And then they give up, right?
Exactly.
So giving up is not something bad, but you have to know when you want to give up or when you want to quit and when you want to persist. And that's back again to the preparation phase. And the preparation phase will make sure that, no, I have to do all what I got. I have to, do my best. I can die for this, but, make it happen. And, not doing the right preparation is what would make you quit and what would make you, listen to people around you, right? So what I'm doing in the book here, the Passion Project, is first, I am building the right foundations before we jump into what's your passion, right? And the right foundations here, I'm discussing myth or, beliefs that people believe all their lives in such myth.
Right.
And I'm busting all of them. For example, one of them, back to the idea of being a polymath. One of the ideas is, in order to succeed in life and, enjoy and blah, 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 is to be a specialist. Okay. Get a degree, major, stick to that career, grow, get promoted, and you're successful. The jack of all trade is not something that is advisable in most of the cultures. Even, and I've seen that almost in 30 languages. The same proverb, the same
not a good
speaking
thing.
about.
Yeah. I stay in my lane, I stay in my wheelhouse, and that's been really good for me. I'm not going to be a pharmacist. I'm not going to be an international diplomat. I'm certainly not going to be an investment banker.
That's right.
But utilizing my voice and my creativity, that works really well for me.
Exactly. And you're somebody who has done too many things as well. So you didn't stick to one thing, So you've been doing several other things.
I find when I stick to what has to do with my voice and my heart and my passion to inspire people to live every day like they want to be alive and to live a life of inspired action.
Exactly.
It flows. It works. And so, but when I don't and I digress, not good.
I do agree.
Not good.
So that's the main thing for you is the passion, having that passion. As long as you still have the passion for it, keep pushing. So back to the idea of being a polymath is that, I'm just busting that myth, that being a specialist is not the only definition of success. Okay, that's one of the definitions. Yes, of course.
Right.
But being a polymath is another definition of success. And I'm saying why. For example, somebody who spent several years in different careers is somebody who's able to be more creative, is somebody who's able to bring solutions for new problems from that X career or that X experience. And it happened to me all the time. For example, in my banking career, I was the outsider all the time. Okay. Somebody who's looked at from insiders as, what this guy's doing here.
Right.
But because of my expertise in different other things, for example, in business development, in building relationship with governments, okay, because I've been doing that all the time.
Yeah, at a very high level, absolutely.
Okay. Negotiation, exactly.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's helpful.
So I was using all those strengths in my new career. So because no one was able to see things from my perspective, because I have this eye, how to say, the eye bird view, for example, right? Or bird eye view, right?
Right.
Is you can look at things from different perspective. I would like to quote here, there is a American mathematician called Freeman Dyson. Back in the 50s, he wrote a very interesting article comparing specialists to polymath or generalist. So he compared, specialists for him were like frogs. Frogs, they knew every single tiny details down in the mud. Okay. But if you take them out of that place, they don't know, right? They know down there.
Right.
While generalists or polymath, they are like birds. They are up there on the trees. They can connect different horizons. They can see different horizons. And for him, none is better than the other. You need both even in your team. You need people who have this 20 years of experience in one tiny single thing, right? They can give you all the experience that you have. And then you have people who are connecting things. You know,
you're the 30,000 foot view. Yeah,
exactly.
You're the 30,000 foot view. I got you.
Exactly. So I'm busting all the myth in the first phase of the book. Then I'm jumping next to, I call it the golden triangle. And the golden triangle here is your passion, your values, your vision for your dream lifestyle. And if we imagine here, we are driving a car on a long, long journey. I think you need only three things in that big journey. You need enough fuel. You need a GPS to tell you where to go and how to go. And you need an end destination to write down, put down on your GPS tracker to say, okay, I'm going to go there. You know, I have 5,000 miles of driving and I need to get there, right?
Right.
So your fuel is your passion. Okay. Your passion, if you have enough passion for what you're doing, you have enough fuel to go on that long journey and go until the end, right?
Right.
Your GPS is your values. And a lot of people ignore their values. Maybe they focus only on their passions, but our values are
very important.
Very important. I give an example in my last career change. My two top values at that time, when I did that change, were my family and my freedom. Okay.
Yeah.
And based on these two things, I decided to leave the banking career to be with my mom and my sister in London because both of them were sick.
Got it.
And I couldn't think of myself all the time. I said, I have really to have them as my priority. So I decided to leave and quit my job in the banking career and leave the foreign ministry in the same month, because I was actually on leave from the foreign ministry. So again, satisfying and fulfilling your values will make you enjoy. It will make you, you are fulfilled in the highest status of fulfillment. Okay.
Right.
And the end destination is your vision for your dream lifestyle. And each one of us has those, whatever, this is my dream lifestyle, living in that city by the sea or in a farm or that big house. This is my dream, I would say, working day, waking up in the morning or waking up late. This is my dream weekend,
you have to have a destination.
Exactly. So having those three things together will make sure that you are on the right track. So, and, getting to the right point. Okay. And then from there, once, even I do that with my clients right now, once they decide what they want to do, then the next phase is to build the skills needed to reach that destination.
I love it. Now, your book comes out when? It's soon to be out. When's it going to be out?
It should be sometime this year. It's still, still in first draft. There's still a lot of work.
I got you. Well, if you want to follow along with Mustafa and his journey of his book, go to thepassionmba.com. You can also hit him up on Instagram at thepassionmba. And I just think he's a great guy, and you should follow him and learn more about him. He's definitely. I've never heard of it before, but he's a polymath, and I find that truly fascinating. Mustafa, thank you so much for being here today on the Living the Law of Action show.
Thank
really
you,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, great guest. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy and precious day to listen. We so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guest, Mustafa Ammar, to touch your heart, move you, inspire you, and remember, take time out to breathe. Don't let fear stop you. Decide, plan, act. Live a life of inspired action. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Living the Law of Action show with Mr. Action, Rob Actis. Please rate, review, and subscribe.